Hi, so thanks, Andy, for joining us today. Welcome to this call, the Technology Too Hard Basket. This is the second time we've done this call. Really excited to have my friend Andy here again. We got a lot of questions last time, Andy, and I'm pretty sure we'll get some tough ones again. I know you've got some really good information to share, but firstly, hey, thanks for taking the time. It's great to see you here. And as Rachel has said, the beautiful butterflies in the background, love it. I'm a bit worried about my background.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to have a extremely talented wife who paints beautiful butterflies. So it's awesome. A nice background to have.
Yeah, it is a nice background, isn't it? Nice background. Hey, Andy, look, I'm passionate about this subject. I know you are too. Technology, today you can't really get away from it, right? It's part of life, it's part of business. And I really see there's an opportunity for business owners to leverage it. So I really, I'm going to give you a bit of a hard time today. Not it's going to be as easy as last time, because I really think, there's a level of opportunity here that maybe some businesses aren't taking after. And I want to talk about leverage today. It's one of my favorite words in business. But firstly, how did you get started working in this space and helping businesses with their technology problems?
Yeah, so for those who don't know kind of my background, I had 20 years founding and growing two businesses. One was a publishing business, and we grew that business to a team of 100 people across New Zealand and Australia. And the other business was an advertising design agency with two other partners. We grew that business to be operating in New Zealand and Chicago up to a team of about 30 odd. And I, in those businesses, one of my roles was, to leverage technology, and specifically, like if we have a look in the advertising design business at the time, we were growing that business. That was in the late 90s, and we were one of the early kind of design businesses to really leverage time zones, to be operating, in New Zealand, America, and the UK. So, we had a great opportunity at that time, as better technology became available, to be able to provide service for our clients in multiple different areas, and to be able to, use video conferencing and better design tools to collaborate and work globally.
It's fascinating how those tools have changed over the years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, I guess what we're going to talk about today is how to leverage them. But I find it fascinating the speed at things are evolving now, and I think that's part of the issue for a lot of business owners, right?
Yeah, well, it is it's getting faster, and it's getting better. For small and medium-sized businesses now, you can have better technology than your kind of incumbent competitors. Like being new to the market at the moment is nearly an advantage from a technology perspective, because you get to embrace the new tools that enable you to leverage a whole lot of different things in your business to make it more efficient. And one of the conversations I often have with the businesses I work with is, if you were to start your business again today, or your startup competitor, what technology are they using to be more efficient, to be faster, to be able to create a better customer experience, to be able to create a better experience for your team.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Some of the research we see, and I see this time and time again, is that there are lots of businesses who, you know, are spending, 20 to 30% of their income in lost efficiency that technology has created over the last 10 years. It's it's quite astounding.
Yeah, that is fascinating. So I
Yeah.
just had an email just from someone wanting to log on, so I'm just going to send them. But yeah, look, what I think, and that's the thing, I think when we talk about advantages, right, this is the real opportunity, right? Because some of the software was only available to the big companies before, and some of the software was out of reach, right? And now it's not. Like, for monthly fees, you can have the same technology that some of these big companies had, I guess, exclusive rights to, right? And you're going to share some of that software today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go through a number of different tools that you can use, and also some different examples of how they're being used. And I think the thing that really is accelerating now is that you can now connect your tools, and you're able to streamline your workflows and automate a lot of administrative type of work, and also you can use computers to do a whole lot of heavy lifting because of the connections between the tools, which and for some of these tools is a relatively new thing. It's been quite a few years now where we've had some good tools to be able to do some of these things, but the thing that's accelerating is the connection between them. So now, as a small and medium-sized business, you can bring together, a suite of, say, 4 or 5 different cloud apps, and you can connect those, automate those, so that you've got this beautiful engine for your business. And it's those systems and processes that can give you a great competitive advantage and give you the ability to be able to leverage your business, which is something that lots of all of the business owners I work with are time poor. And leveraging technology gives you an ability to be able to create more time, and it's never been easier, and it's never been cheaper to do those things.
Yeah, and I think that excites me the most, right? And so let's lead into them, because I know you have a piece of software that you love.
Yeah.
And we've got some more people joining, just as the links are coming through. So let's start with, hey guys, thanks for joining the call. Andy's just about to explain and share his favorite piece of software. So if you want to start with your slides, Andy, and we'll get into it.
Yep.
If you're just coming on, I'm talking to Andy Carruthers. Andy's an expert in technology, but he's a real expert in helping business owners understand and how to leverage technology. So that's why I wanted Andy on this call today. It's the second time we've done this call. We had some great feedback last time. If you've got any things in your technology too hard basket, we want to hear about them. We want to have your questions. I've got my panel open here. As questions come through, I will definitely put Andy on the hot seat. I've got a few other questions that I want to ask him that I didn't get to last time. This man has a wealth of knowledge. He's very good because he's owned businesses. He's very good at understanding your problems because he's been there, right? Now he's worked himself into a position where he's an expert in a number of technologies, like the piece of software that he's just about to show you, but he's also an expert in Workflow Max. He's also an expert in Shopify. He's also an expert in Xero. And he's also an expert in this next piece of software that he's going to show him. And he's done some work for me in this space. And yeah, so Andy, take it away, my man. What's your favorite bit of software and why?
Okay, so my favorite piece of business software at the moment is Zapier. And Zapier is an amazing tool for connecting your connecting your applications and streamlining your workflows. And here's kind of a list of some of the different apps that we've created, some Zapier automations over the last 6 months or so. So you'll see we've got Xero in there, we've got all of the Google Workspace products, whether it's Sheets, Docs, Calendar, Contacts, Google Forms, Outlook, Excel, digital signing, the PayPal, Shopify, Salesforce CRMs, HubSpot, SMS texting apps, and then some of the database apps like Caspio, Process Street, and Airtable. So yeah, that's my favorite at the moment.
It's a great bit of software, and I just share how we use it. So one of the things that we do for some restaurants here in New Zealand is we have a birthday bot using another piece of software called ManyChat. And what it allows us to do is sync ManyChat and Zapier and a Google Doc together. So what happens is if someone has a birthday coming up, they'll get an offer from one of our restaurants. So Facebook and Instagram know your birthday, so you'll see an ad for a free pizza. And then we use the ManyChat and the Zapier to talk to a Google spreadsheet, which basically puts all the details over and allows us to track the spend of how much those people are spending when they come in to grab a free pizza or whatever the offer is. So it's a great little bit of software to sync everything together. It's kind of like the connector, right?
Yeah, it just brings automation to life in a really easy, cost-effective way. Yeah. So, one of the frustrations with cloud, applications is that particularly as a small and medium-sized business where you're using platforms that are specialist in doing one particular thing. So you have Xero for your accounting, you have a CRM system, you might have a workflow system. So each one of those tools does their specific things really well, but often they haven't talked very well to each other. So what ends up happening is you have all of this kind of manual work, and you don't have one source of truth in your business, which is really super important.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you start looking at the applications that this software can do, right? But I can tell you, it can give you a headache as well. And that's why you need to use an expert like yourself. So because you can go down a rabbit hole and get even more confused about what to do. So that it leads me to maybe just give us a little bit more background on how you got helping business owners with the technology side of things. You've owned a couple of businesses. Yep. You said you're into systems, that type of stuff. But what got you involved in now creating your own business, helping people globally around the world with this sort of stuff?
Yeah. So so for the past 8 years, I've worked in helping other businesses, and I've been helping them in a few different areas. One of the areas is around their systems and their technology. I was an associate partner at a large business advisory firm, team of 3,000 across New Zealand and Australia. So in my role, systems and technology was part of the work I was doing with businesses. Then I was also helping businesses with looking at innovation and how they can keep their competitive advantage. And I was also working with them around how do they make sure that they know which financial levers to pull in their business to make sure they grow and are competitive. And through doing that work, I worked on just the most incredible technology and process improvement project I'd ever come across. And it was a project, it was about 3 years ago, and it was for an organisation, New Zealand organisation, Women's Refuge, who provide support for people at risk of family violence, and provide a number of different services to support them. And one of the programs they run is a program called Whānau Protect, which is about providing emergency alarms for high-risk victims of family violence. And it's quite a complicated process to provide this service. So how it works is that somebody somebody who's at risk either gets referred to the service by police or by somebody in refuge or one of the different community agencies. They then have to go through an application process to find out if they qualify, and then if they qualify, we have to get an alarm for them. We also have to do a home safety upgrade for the property to make it safer for them.
Wow.
And so this when I first started working with this team, it was a team of 5 people, and they were completely stressed out. Mm-hmm. There were emails and spreadsheets everywhere, and it was just complete chaos. And what we did is we had a look at what's the process here, and there were 9 paper forms as part of this process. There were about 700 bits of data that we needed to work with. We needed to pass it through to the alarm company. We needed to communicate with the police. We needed to communicate with property contractors, and all at the same time, we needed to be able to report back and know where everything was at the same time. And look, in doing that project, I really got to use all of a whole lot of the skills and experience that I've built up, in my kind of 30 years working in systems and technology. Mm-hmm. And it was after doing that project that I realized that, look, this is the stuff that I love. This is the stuff that I'm really good at, and this is the stuff that I want to focus on. And so that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. And Zapier that we're talking about, one of the things I've done over the last couple of years is I've gone through their certification process, and I'm one of 3 people in New Zealand who are certified experts in Zapier.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's amazing how you've used technology to really make some differences in people's lives, and like just the stress that you would have taken off those volunteers, right? Huge. Yeah. Just by and they just that people are doing things, and this is one of the reasons I really like doing this call with you, is you don't know what you don't know, right? And it's not till you discover that all these tools out there, and if you can get someone to help you, everything that's in your too hard basket can all of a sudden actually become quite clear, and you think, oh, why did I never think of this before, right? It's crazy how we can leverage it. So I know you have another piece of software that you really, really love. Are you going to share that today, or are you going to keep that to yourself?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll share it with you, Scott.
Because I think this one's amazing. Like,
this is super cool. So Process Street. And what Process Street is it's a digital checklist. And like I remember, in the early days in my businesses, just being aware at how, in order to grow, we had to create good systems, and we had to be able to, train our team and to follow steps so that we got that consistency of, service, and so that our team, kind of knew what to do and were really successful in their roles. So Here's a little screenshot of a 39-point digital checklist with some built-in automation. So Process Street lets you take some of the standard processes in your business and to bring them to life with a digital checklist so that your team can follow that. And one of the things that the digital checklist allows you to do is, as you complete a step, you click a checkbox. It means that everybody across the business knows where you're at. So if somebody's sick, somebody else can pick up what's going on. And if somebody leaves, there's complete transparency, and it takes away a whole lot of the manual, mundane work for your team members. And I've got a couple of examples of how it does that. So, in here we can build in automation, email automation. So here, we click a checkbox, it pre-populates an email. We've got the template in there, it's merging all the details in, and it's just, saving time and doing work that computers are great at. Document automation, most of us have documents that we need to send to other people as part of the process, or to our customers. Again, the digital checklist allows us to automate that whole process. Calendar automation, again, as part of these processes, there are calendar events that need to happen and they need to go to the right people. We can automate those processes. Supplier bill automation. So, if we're using a regular supplier, we have an agreement in place, we can automate that so that it's sending that data, into our accounting system or into their accounting system, so that people aren't having to manually do that. You're not having to reconcile because it's done.
Yeah, that's cool, right? The power of this is just, set it up. Let's leverage it. Set it up once, and the systems do it again and again and again and again and again, right? Yep. Hey, so people are going to have questions. So if you've got questions, please type them in, and you're going to go through some examples soon. I'm just going to put your website in there. If someone wants to have a call with you, they can book a call. You've got a free technology call that you offer people. So I've just put that in the chat. But if you have any chat questions, feel free to type them in, and I'll get to Andy. So just before we get into some of the examples that you're using for clients, I want to know what are the top 3 things that business owners should know to be successful when it comes to leveraging technology? Because you've been doing this for a long time now. So what are those 3 things?
Yeah. So here's my top 3. The first thing is that you've got to know your business process, and you've got to explore how technology can make you more efficient. And, that can be easier said than done. Like most people understand their business process to a level. Often people can be a little reluctant to lock down a process. I find a lot of businesses that I work with want to kind of have a customized process, which is just a little bit different each time. And having a little bit of flexibility works okay, but as you grow and as you're trying to leverage, you do need to create that consistency. So, exploring how technology. So I think it's really important, to keep up to date with, what's going on with technology. That doesn't mean you have to do all of the hard work around that. You can involve other people, to help you with that.
I think it's the point of getting the who sometimes as well, right? Get the right who doing that sort of stuff for you.
Yeah. So, I guess one of the things that I hear a lot in talking to business owners is they go, oh, my young nephew or my young niece, is really good at technology. So, or really, I mean, you would have heard this, Scott, and I hear this a lot. My niece or nephew, they're great at social media. So I'll get them to manage the social media for my business.
Yeah.
And, like it's a different thing.
Yeah.
So I think, it's worthwhile just making sure you get the right kind of who around that.
Yeah.
And
The interesting thing here, though, is Kiwis, we're a bunch of DIYers, right? So we'll give things a crack ourselves and break things and then get guys like you to come in and fix it. Do you see that that kind of mindset around the world? Because you're dealing with people globally now, right? You've got people in Switzerland, all over the place. You were telling me about the other day. And, is this a different mindset? Is this where maybe the Kiwis that are on this call really need to understand? We're in a global market now. So yep, the DIY will get you so far, but actually having an expert on your team who knows how to do this stuff can really, increase the leverage in your business and the speed.
Yeah. So I don't think DIY is purely a New Zealand phenomenon from my experience. But I think a lot of that comes down to what's your ambition, what's your plan around your business. And if you're trying to scale a business, or you're really trying to grow something, then I think you have a different kind of strategic view, and that you need to involve good people around you to get stuff done. And once you understand the value of your own time, I think it then becomes kind of a no-brainer. So some business owners I talk to, they value their own time very lowly. They might say, well, why would I pay an expert to help me with something that I could do myself, and my time doesn't cost me anything? And then you have other business owners that realize that if they didn't spend that 40 hours or that 60 hours nailing some technology around their business, and brought in an expert and paid them a few $1,000s to get it done for them, and to have it done in a short period of time, that they could spend that time, they know that they could spend that time much more valuably inside of their business, doing the things that they're great at, that are high value tasks. So that's the differentiator. Once you realize the opportunity cost of your time, you then realize that it makes no sense for you to learn something from scratch that somebody else is already good at.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. So number 2, you need to know your key financial levers, the key financial levers in your business, and you need to focus there in your business. So, there's no point in leveraging technology somewhere where it doesn't make a financial impact in your business. And, one of the things I do with, business process reviews is we rank based on return where you should invest your dollars around technology.
Wow. How do you do that?
So I've got a fancy criteria, and as part of doing a system and process health check, we identify, well, what are the technology areas, and then we go through that criteria, which has got it's got scores against 8 different areas. So you're having a look at how quickly could you implement something? How many different people in your business does it impact? What's the, how long will it take to implement? And that gives each one of those projects a score, and then you go to your highest score in order to start there.
Nice, awesome.
And
do you charge for that? Like, what's involved there?
So I do. I have a couple of different offers around that. So initially, I have a free tool where people can go and have a look just at how mature their business is around systems and processes.
Yep.
So there's a link to that on my website. So that's the
Cool.
process assessment. I don't know if you can pop that in the chat, Scott.
Yep.
So that's a free tool, and then from there, if you want to go through a proper system and process health check for $1,500, we'll work through and have a look at your systems and processes, go through that ranking exercise so that you can decide where is the best place to invest your money.
Nice, cool. All right.
And then, number 3. So know the technology your startup competitor is going to use to be more efficient than you. So, this is, one of the things today, as I said earlier on, if you're starting off your business today versus and competing against businesses who started their businesses, 5-10 years ago, you potentially have a technology advantage from being able to use different tools than what they're using. And you need to be aware of that. And when the time is right and when it adds up financially, you need to be moving to that technology.
Totally. And this is, I've been showing some people the other day with a workshop that we have called Video Influence, and the power of just the phone here now, right? You can be leveraging this to grow a business, so be looking at the technologies. Nothing can really hold you back now if you have that will to really get stuck in. Hey, Andy, I know we're going to now go into some examples.
Yep.
And this is where the questions start coming, right? Because people start seeing, yeah, I've got this problem. So if you're on the call, I want you to look out now, because Andy's going to go through some of the problems he's actually helped people with globally around the world. And generally, these are problems that people have put in the too hard basket. It's like, that's too hard. So they've just left it there. And then they've come along and found a guy like Andy. So this is how Andy's helped them. So if you have any questions as we go through this, feel free to type them in, or if you want to ask a question live, just I can unmute you. So just send me a message and I'll make that happen. So Andy, let's get into the first example.
Okay. So this one, this problem, I've got lots of job applicants to follow up and get more information from, and this is a project I was working with a guy out of Texas on this particular problem, and he uses ZipRecruiter as his recruitment platform. So he's advertising positions on ZipRecruiter, and what happens here is that ZipRecruiter send them through an email notification of an applicant. And what we do using Zapier, we strip the information from that email that comes through from ZipRecruiter, and we then put that into like a communication funnel where we're sending them an email. We're also sending them a text message as well.
Wow.
to make sure that we get engagement with them. So as part of the recruitment process, They make an initial application on ZipRecruiter. We then need to gather some more information, which we're sending out a link to a form in both of the text message and also the email. They fill out the data. That data comes through to us, and we can then take the next step in the recruitment process.
Wow. So how was this process being done before?
So it was being done. It was being done manually. So
Oh, wow.
the emails would come through from ZipRecruiter. Then from there, they were then being followed up. So the email was being sent manually, and the text message was just something that was being trialed to get more engagement. So one of the problems with email is that we get sent so many of them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get missed, whereas text messages have a much higher open rate. So the text message made a real difference to being able to get more engagement from candidates through the recruitment process.
Which is exactly what they want, right?
Absolutely.
And that's cool. How just taking something that seems so simple, right? But I can imagine how many hours that person or people would have wasted previously, eh?
Yeah, and the thing that happened was that they were scaling this up.
Yeah.
So it's fine to do that as a manual process if you've only got a couple.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start getting, like tens and hundreds, and even thousands of kind of repetitive tasks, you want to take advantage of automating it.
That's awesome. Awesome. What's next?
Okay. So from hours going back and forth to get customer and job details. So this is for a business based out of Sydney. And they're in the assembly, a big box assembly and install business. So if you go and buy something from IKEA or from Bunnings and it needs to be installed or assembled at your house, these guys provide that service. And the problem that they are having is you'd go to the big box store, you'd pay for this service in advance, and you'd then have to reach out to arrange your install and assembly. And it was a very kind of cumbersome manual process going back and forth. So what we did was we put together some forms. We used JotForm as our form builder in this case. We embedded forms into their WordPress website. We used Zapier to take the data that was being entered into the form, and we would send that straight through into Aeroflow, which is their job management system. So having the form, reduced the back and forth because customers knew, hey, this is what they've got to do, and by sending the data straight into the job flow system means that the team on the ground had all the information and they can get on and do the job.
So this would have sped up their processes a lot, right?
Yeah.
and also, so what I see here though is so they were already using this online tool, Aeroflow. So you just designed a system to fit into a system that they're already using and familiar with.
Yep.
Perfect. So really, that's real leverage for that business, right? Straight away, they've maybe add another piece of software into the mix, but the time that it's going to save them on this would just easily outweigh what it's cost them.
Oh yeah, I mean the return on investment for doing these type of projects is, it's massive.
So you just sit down with these guys, they book a call, and you just map this sort of stuff out with them. Figure out what they're already using, what their problem is. That's really cool. All right, I'm interested. Let's keep going. What's another one? You get another one?
Okay, so my team all doing things differently. So this is a problem that I hear a lot, especially as team numbers grow. And you have a process or a system to be able to make sure that you provide an excellent service to your customers. And your business is only as good as your worst team member at following that system or process. So this is the standardized digital checklist and connecting your systems. And we talked about this earlier on. This is Process Street. Every time, in this particular case, every time an online form is filled out, you start, this was an onboarding process. A new checklist gets created, and that checklist is then followed through to make sure that we provide that consistent process, and we have all of the automation linked into that checklist. In this case, we're using a Caspio database, to manage our data and our forms and our back end. So, and we're using Zapier to make those connections and also to create the automations.
Wow. So I'm just wondering, people are obviously watching this and starting to think, hey, maybe the people have got some ideas. So I'd love to know who's got some ideas of how they could start using this type of technology in their business. I'd love to see if anyone has got any brainwaves since they've been watching, or does anyone have any questions? And if you want to come on the call and ask Andy a question, feel free to do so. Just let me know and I'll unmute you. But if you've got any questions, I know I've got a few ideas myself just from what we've started already. Like that whole, I love the whole text message, joining everything together to get more engagement. Like obviously we use ManyChat and a few other pieces of software, but linking in text messaging into that would be a perfect way to do it. So I'm just always writing down stuff. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so this is a problem that I hear a lot about. So I get sent emails that have to be manually entered into a spreadsheet somewhere or onto a database or another system. And not all systems talk together, and not all of your suppliers are going to use systems that are going to talk to your systems. So there's a really cool tool in Zapier, which is the Mail Purser by Zapier. And what this allows you to do is to be able to take a pre-formatted email and send that data straight into another app. In this case, it was Google Sheet. So here's a little screenshot. This was a supplier email. So pre-formatted email would come through with this data each time, and we would take this data, create an automation to put it, in this case, into a spreadsheet. But earlier on, I talked about the ZipRecruiter scenario. So in that case, we were taking the pre-formatted data and we were sending that straight through to be able to send the emails and also to be able to send the text messages.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what was it called? The Mail
Purser.
Yeah.
By Zapier.
Nice. That's another great bit of software, right?
Yeah.
Hey, so Rachel, she's asking questions. I'd love to hear Andy's tips on the best way to map out your process. So Rachel, were you talking about the process I was just talking about? I think you were. So yeah, we can talk about that.
Yes, yes, it was.
Okay, cool. So Andy, a little bit about our process as far as we use ManyChat. And so we collect automatically people's, we can collect as much detail as we want really, but we definitely will get name, email, mobile phone number. Generally we'll zap that and whatever other information that we're collecting over to a Google spreadsheet. How would I add, if I wanted to add in texting those people as well? Because generally what will happen is our chatbot will talk to people and get them engaged. But if they dropped out of that, and I know there's another way, I could do it probably through, well, actually you can do it through ManyChat, to add an MSS, text message. But is there any other pieces of software that I could be looking at to do that?
Yeah, so inside of your Zap, you could add a text message service. So a couple that we've covered earlier on, Text Magic, SMS Global. There's a few of them out there. So you could add that service into your Zap. You've got the mobile details there, and so you could just add a step to your Zap that it's kind of like a pathway. So if they don't respond at this point, then you can then send them on this pathway, which then sends them a text message.
Yeah.
So you can do those logical pathways.
Yeah. And that would be perfect to get around any because obviously there's rules around 24 hours and all that sort of responding inside messages. So that would really help re-trigger that as well. So I'll definitely tick out Text Magic, because I know there was, New Zealand definitely were sometimes always the last to get added to some of this technology, which is a little bit frustrating. So if you can get around that, then that would be perfect. Yep. Thank you, Rachel. Stephen's asked suggestions for customer-based creation and use. So even if Stephen, if you want to come on and ask that question, just so we get some more context and clarity to that, I'm happy to unmute you if you want to ask. Oh, he's got no mic. Okay, so suggestions for customer-based database creation and use.
So for customer database
creation.
So is that a CRM system, like a customer relationship management system that he's looking for?
He'll type in, and I'm sure he'll give us more clarity on what he needs.
Okay. Yes,
and self-addition. So he's wanting to know how to build a customer database and then have it obviously automatically update with people's details.
So I think there are lots of different database tools out there, and the key thing around selecting that is understanding what your particular business process is, and you can then match a good tool to that. That's something that I do help businesses with. If you wanted to go and kind of do it yourself, or what I'd suggest you do is that you write out your process that you're wanting to follow and kind of all of the different steps. Then you can jump online and go to a tool like getapp.com, and that shows you, in there you can search all of the different database or CRM tools. And if you have a look through some of the different features, to make sure it's going to give you the features so that you can create your process, would be my feedback on that.
Nice. So getapp.com.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, and look, that is definitely I know, talking to business owners, we've used the Ferrari of CRMs, Salesforce, Infusionsoft or Confusionsoft, and like you've got HubSpot, you've got Zoho. There's so many, right?
Yep.
So it definitely is worth mapping that out and getting a real understanding. I've just put the getapp.com in the chat. Okay. We've got a few left, bit of time left, Andy, probably another 7 or 8 minutes. So let's get into another couple, and thank you for entering, everyone, for putting in their questions. I really appreciate it. Keep them coming.
Okay, so this one, some of my appointments forget and don't show up. So in this case, we're setting appointments using a Google form to input that data, using Zapier again, where we're sending a text message to just manage a follow-up and reminder process. So, pretty simple process. But by being able to do a follow-up and do a reminder, we're all used to getting text messages from our. I get them from my dentist. I get them, from my when I'm getting my car serviced and the like. And in small and medium-sized business, if your job management system doesn't have that inbuilt, you can add it on.
Pretty simple, right? But highly valuable, because people not turning up is a real pain, right?
Well, it's really expensive, right?
Yeah, too right. Can easily be fixed.
Yeah. Now, this is just to the point earlier on about the database. So this is, I guess, as an example. This is a business owner I was working with out of Seattle, and his problem was when he updates his contacts, he needed them updated in his database and his email contacts. And this is the thing with having, we all have multiple systems where we have data. We need it to sync. So in this case, this business owner was using Outlook for their email and for their contacts. They had a database in Airtable that they wanted to have synced.
Wow.
So we used a tool called PySync, which creates a real-time two-way sync for that. So PySync is always listening to both Airtable and Outlook contacts, and every time there's a change, it updates in both places.
And that's powerful, right? Like straight away, because that would normally be a manual process, right? Or a process that never got done. Yeah. So Airtable is another good one, right? That's another great bit of software.
This is one, I need to tag orders automatically. So this business based in Melbourne, selling motorbikes, and they're using Shopify as their e-commerce platform. And what happens here is their customers are buying bikes that kitset bikes that need to be built up. So we need to be able to know the difference between a pre-built bike and buying some parts for bikes. So in this case, we used, through the Shopify marketplace, we used an app called Orderspy, and that enabled us to automatically tag those orders.
Wow. So once again, just like making the processes better for that business. How much time do you reckon that person's starting to save now because of that?
Well, so time-wise, went from the business owner managing this process to now he has a staff member who's managing the process.
Yeah.
And so time-wise, this is saving hours every week.
Yeah.
But it's also reducing the stress and providing much better customer experience, because you're not having, you're just not making mistakes.
Yeah. So true, eh? And that's, I love that. That's why you need to leverage technology, people. We need to leverage it. Hey, Brendan just said, for your eyes, PySync is now owned by HubSpot. Oh, that's awesome. He says it's a super powerful tool. Totally agree. That's cool. Thanks for that input, Brendan. All right. So I've got one more question. If you had one secret to give people about leveraging technology for business, what would it be?
My one secret is to review your processes and just ask, why do we do this? And then after you've made sure that you've got a good reason to be doing it, ask, how can you remove steps from your current process? How can you add some value to that process, which makes it more valuable for your team or your customers? How can you simplify the process, remove any duplication out of it, reduce the time, so the time from start to finish for that process? And then once you've done that, then automate as much as you can of what's left in that process.
Yeah, totally. So and so it starts with those things that you're thinking, could I be automating this? Is that, you should be thinking like that as well. If something you've been doing again and again and again manually, is that where you should start as well? Like, look for those processes that you do manually and start to go, okay, well, why are we doing it this way, right? So
And it's not just you, it's your team as well. So
okay. And should we do this before talking to, say, an expert like you, or should we just like, hey, Andy, I got a problem. Can you fix it? Like, what's the best way for this to happen for you, or for your client, to be fair?
So it does depend on your skill set, around these things, and also your motivation around these things. So, if this is something that is interesting to you, then I encourage you to get started yourself and to go through and have a look at these things. If that's not your cup of tea, then reach out to somebody like me who can help you do that.
Yeah. I really see this as a great opportunity right now for business owners to leverage technology, and this is the reason why we did this call. It's why I keep harping on. One of the great things I love about dealing with experts is you get a fresh set of eyes, because you, as a business owner, you're really stuck in the whacking and the cracking a lot, right? And you sometimes you just need that person to go, actually, have you ever thought about doing it this way? Or did you know about this software? Because like you've told me about, and this is the second time we've done this presentation, and you've already told me about 3 different pieces of software that I never knew about that can actually help us, So it's really interesting to even having this discussion as we're finding out more ways of doing stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this call up. Andy, I really appreciate, I put in the link to a free call with you. You've got it on the screen right now, hardbasket.com. You've got some really cool stuff coming up. You've got a brand new website. Everything's sort of starting to get built there. You got some new ebooks and stuff like that coming out. You're really wanting to help business owners in this space. So really, appreciate you taking the time to come on here and actually share your knowledge. I know a lot of people, they do find this technology area frustrating. So thank God for people like you, because I know myself, I get stuck in the weeds of this stuff, and it's just great to be able to, talk to you about this sort of stuff. So yeah, people are saying, hey, so thanks much, guys. Really cool. Thanks, Rachel, Andy. Paul. Thanks, Andy and Scott. Great sharing on some wonderful tools. Yeah, look, the tools are awesome, and they're there for us to use and leverage and grow our businesses. So I would just say, hey, get in touch with Andy, have a chat with him. He is a really approachable person, and he will really help you out with your technology too, Hardbasket, because you don't need to suffer when there's people like Andy around.
Oh, thanks very much, Scott. Really appreciate you arranging this and setting it up, and thanks everyone for jumping on. Love to have a chat if you want to talk technology.
Yeah, man, awesome. All right, Andy, appreciate your time. I'll get out of this now, and I'll push save recording.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thanks, Rach.
Thanks, Rachel.